go see draft day. It was a few weeks actually before the draft, and my opinion on it was that the concept of ownership, the concept of agents, and the concept of fans was fairly close. The rest of it was truly a Hollywood movie.
I was gonna say, was that based on you?
I don't think so. It was based on the chair. You know, there's been 8 general managers in Cleveland, so I think they probably took bits and pieces of all of our different experiences and put it into one day of all things.
The SEC meetings, Mike Slive talked about agents and how obviously the word autonomy, but dealing with agents because of the rash of underclassmen who came out and didn't get drafted. Do you know what he's referring to? What could the SEC do? What would he like to do? Or what can be done?
Well, I think first of all, there's got to be more understanding from the college game of how the NFL really works, and vice versa. I think the NFL needs to have more of an appreciation for what is going on these college campuses as these players are approached by different agents and what kind of information they're getting. There's got to be a way to move away from the idea of the player having all the risk. In other words, those 102 players declare for the draft, 37 of them are not picked. Well, the college game and the pro game just shrug their shoulders, and the kid is kind of left holding the bag. So I think there's got to be a way to either have some sort of pre-declaration date combine where you really have a height, weight, speed verified on each of these juniors. Then you could give them more of an accurate accounting for where they might go in the draft. And then the other thing is a little bit like basketball. Look, if you don't get picked, there's got to be a way for you to go back to school and play for your team. Now, the mechanics and the timing of that gets complicated, but there's so much money out there between college football and pro football, and these players that were not selected are signing contracts for $1,000, $1,500, when in reality they should be back in school and playing this year.
What would be wrong with the NFL having a development league? Maybe 2 or 3 teams having teams. I know they had Europe, financially it wasn't good, but how about with like the NBA? With the
no, I think a D-League in the NFL is something on the horizon. I think, in my opinion, it would be more of a spring type of situation that would probably end before the draft, so that any players that were promoted out of the D-League to a regular team could get started from day one. That was one of the issues with NFL Europe. That league ran in May and June. The players would come out of that league, they were worn out, go straight into training camp, and they really didn't have as good a chance of making a team. So I think you'll see some sort of D-League in the spring, and then I've heard the term an academy in the fall, where it might be almost like a farm system or a centralized location where 100 players go to continue training, learning in the classroom, practicing, and then the teams would sign them and bring them up from there.
And building on this first question, talking about the underclassmen coming out, the agents do tell these kids that they're going 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, and these kids don't get drafted. Do you think the agents should pay some type of penalty or maybe pick up the slack on these kids for telling them false hopes and anything like that?
Well, I think really what they're selling more than anything is the idea that under the new collective bargaining agreement, rookie contracts are not what they used to be. So it's important to get into the system so you can get to that second contract, which would come after your 4th year in the league. The problem is the average lifespan is 3.2 years. So most of these players are not getting to that second contract, and I think that there are some agents that are very honest with players, and oftentimes the player will then go choose a different agent because another guy's telling him what he wants to hear, which I'm a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round pick, when in reality the young man isn't that.
Is there if there was a development league, would those players come out of colleges? Would they have to be a certain age? If I was in high school and was really good, could I say, I'll start getting paid now and get in the NFL soon?
I think ideally, at least initially, it would be for those players that, obviously you've got the draft eligible prospects. They would not be part of it in the spring. They would be going through pro days and getting ready for the draft. This would be for the players who go through that procedure, end up not on a team or kind of the last guys on a roster, and maybe there's some sort of allocation from the NFL clubs themselves added to the players that are out there on the street.
Phil, when I
Last
brought
question.
when I brought that up, I was looking at, again, what the NBA does. In other words, they play maybe, a game, have it during the fall, so if a guy got hurt, they could reach down and bring somebody up. That's what I was referring to actually have it going on while the NFL season's going on, so that they had a place to go for injured players.
See, I think that's where that academy idea, it would be, again, more of a centralized location for one group of players rather than trying to ask the fans to support another level of the game. I just don't think you'll see a fall developmental league. I think it'll be more of a springtime situation. It's my own personal opinion. I could be completely wrong.